Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. In our first story, OP found herself in another government job, and it turns out government jobs might not be as glamorous as they seem. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Do only my job? Bet. Okay, fellas, sit down and get ready for Miss Victoria's favorite tale of sit on it and twist. So everyone hears about how great government jobs are. PTOs, sick days, and great insurance. What they don't tell you is that it's a micromanaged high school reunion of the teen movie variety. This story takes place just after I finished up my active duty contract. The year was 2017, and I was just settling into my new job. Fade out into a memory flashback. When I was AD, I worked in a large hospital that had a horrible reputation after a few enlisted girls took photos of themselves flipping off newborn babies in the maternity ward. Yes, that hospital. I did data entry for the incoming doctor medical evaluation notes from a variety of in-network specialty clinics. I was very good at my job, so much so that I was asking to come back and fill the civilian position doing the same thing. The average quota per person was 40 files a day. I was doing over 100, so I was happy to come back making $19 an hour to listen to my favorite podcast and type away inanely for 8 hours a day. Back to the story. I was doing my quota plus that of the enlisted who couldn't keep up, as well as helping other areas of the department where I already was trained in. I was easily doing about 4 people's work on any given day after knocking out 6 months of backlog in less than a month. Life was smooth and sweet. Well, eventually our LPO, lead petty officer, who was in charge of much of the department, transferred to Okinawa. Her and I had many issues, but like a good manager, she realized I knew what I was doing and was amazing at it. We had a civilian take over our department until a new LPO would arrive. This woman was a super Karen. But I'm tired of saying Karen, so I'll call her Sharon. This woman was I can't say the word in mixed company, but it means see you next Tuesday. She decided to completely change how the office ran. Blah, blah, streamline, blah, blah, efficiency, blah, blah, you get this. Well, I was forbidden from doing any work other than my own and no longer allowed to come in early, off the clock even, because salary. Just my job and limited to that. Don't help people, don't fill in when understaffed, letter of my contract, tracking, means I understand. So I pulled out my contract. It stated I was expected to do 40 files a day, even though my job alone got in over 130 files a day, so I'd never be caught up. So I did just that. I did exactly 40 files a day. The backlog got bad, fast. The entire overhead was full of unseparated files, and per our hospital standards, you have 3 days from time of receipt to put the files into the patient's HAMS, our electronic system for off-site medical documents. JCO had a field day with that one. Well, after about a month, someone got a dressing down by our departmental head, an awesome commander who had a great sense of humor, but could be a hard butt when it came to rules. After that, I was able to do my job quickly and efficiently and had myself and others caught up relatively fast. I have to say, thanks to her, I was ahead of all my training for the rest of the fiscal year, so that was good. She had a real chip on her shoulder for me after that, but I left not on such great terms shortly after. And our second story. Seriously? Over a candy bar? I have 2 part-time jobs as a library assistant for 2 separate libraries in my area. The first one is one of the best jobs I've ever had. It's a small library, but super fun, love my coworkers, and my trustees are usually pretty cool. The second one, well, it's a larger library. My coworkers are super nice, but one of my trustees does not like me. I've been here almost a year, and she seems like she's out to get me. Well, yesterday kind of proved it. So one of our most frequently broken rules is that you're not allowed to eat in the library. You can have food in the conference room if there's an event or your staff. Here's the problem. I only work solo shifts, and the conference room's on the exact opposite side of the library. Seriously, the front desk is in the front left side of the building, the conference room is in the back right side. So if I go to eat my dinner in there and a patron, how we refer to customers because they don't really purchase anything, comes in, then it takes me a minute to reach them, or I risk them having to come find me because I didn't hear the bell on the door. So typically I eat my dinner at the desk for a maximum customer service. My boss, head librarian, understands this and has no problem with this as long as I clean up. Well, yesterday one of my favorite patrons came in. He is super nice and owns an old-fashioned candy shop up the road. Now, he's tried to tip me before, but I've told him he can't because I'll get in trouble. So the last couple of times he's been in, he's given me a candy bar as a thank you. Sometimes it'll be one he just made. His caramel pretzels are amazing. But sometimes he just brings me a Snickers or something. He'll only bring me the pretzels and homemade stuff if they're fresh. Seriously, he makes the pretzels by hand and everything. Well, yesterday I helped him out, and per usual, he gives me a huge crispy heart chocolate because Valentine's is coming up, and he knows I'm quirky and love holidays. I come to work every day wearing a crocheted burger hat that my mom made me and a typically nerdy dress or shirt. I'm not the kind of person who hides my geekiness. So he leaves, and I sit at the desk and eat my candy, one happy little nerd, when in comes my trustee, who we'll now refer to as Entitled Woman. I've just taken a large bite of my candy when she comes in and turns to the desk where I'm sitting and levels me with her glare and a smile worthy of a Batman villain because she thinks she's got me. Entitled Woman: what are you doing? Me, after swallowing my chocolate: oh, I finished putting the books away and was just about. Entitled Woman: you can't eat out here. You have to eat in the conference room. It's policy. Me, internally going, WTF, it's just a candy bar. Entitled Woman: are you arguing with me? All food must be eaten in the conference room. It's policy. Me: but I eat at the desk all the time. Sue, head librarian, not her real name, said it was okay because I work alone and that way I'm not running from the other side of the library. Entitled Woman: you've done this before? Me: yes, Sue knows. Entitled Woman: well then. She sounds totally offended and walks off to find a book, and I think it's over. If it were over, would I be here? I come in the next afternoon to find a written warning from her and Sue. Sue apologized and said she has to sign it to show it's been seen and dealt with, and tells me not to worry too much about it. Oh no, I'm not worried about it. I'm so mad. Well, I began to sit and stew about this until I saw the note about the trustee meeting tomorrow night. Sue leaves me a note to remind me every month so I know that I can't get to the microwave in the conference room and to bring a sandwich instead of something hot. I'm fairly mischievous, and my dad's the king of malicious compliance, so I know exactly what I have to do. So last night, before I come in, I get all the fixings from the grocery store to make loaded nachos for dinner, chili, cheese, the works. So I get into work, and the trustee meeting has just started, and I know Entitled Woman has a big presentation for the meeting, so I sit and wait. When I start to get hungry, I politely knock on the conference room door and enter. Entitled Woman has just started her presentation. Me: sorry to interrupt, but I need to make dinner since I'm not allowed to eat at the desk. Sue immediately clues into what's about to happen and shakes her head with a smile. I take it as my go-ahead for what I'm doing. Entitled Woman: whatever, just hurry up. So I go to the microwave and start my work. You heat up the chili first, and while that's cooking in our very loud microwave, I start fussing with the chips, making as much racket as I can, and even though I have my back to her, I can feel the glare. Once my chili's done, I put the nachos in and microwave those next while mixing in some chopped peppers from the supermarket with the chili for an extra bit of crunch. Nachos beep loudly, and I take them out. Whoops, not enough cheese and not melted enough. Add more, and in they go. This goes on a bit, and finally I'm done with my nachos. Entitled Woman is fuming at how loud I am, and it doesn't stop there. I sit in her vacant seat next to Sue, who's red in the face trying not to laugh, and then start eating my nachos. So they're loud and crunchy as it is, but I typically don't eat crunchy food because I'm a loud chewer due to a click in my jaw from an old injury, so it's extra loud and annoying. Entitled Woman is red with anger, and I just sit happily eating the sweetest nachos I've ever tasted. Until EW's presentation is over and my plate is empty, I clean the dishes and go back to the desk with a smug grin. Fast forward to today when I come in and Sue tells me that from now on the trustees would prefer me to eat my dinner at the front desk. Victory! Edit. Talk to Sue. She told me that the food policy was going to be updated and wants to sit down with me to work out the food bit with her and my coworker. so that we can all make sure the new policy is to all of our satisfaction? I know you guys aren't too happy with Sue, but who do you think explained to the trustees why quiet little OP was so rude and chomped through the meeting? Because as we all know with Karens, it certainly was an entitled woman. I'm also totally dreading the fact that I kind of forgot that once the next trustees meeting comes up, I'll be requesting a small amount of money to do a Dungeons & Dragons program, and it's something they have to vote on. Else I'll have to go to our friends of the library group, a group of patrons who donate a large sum of money to help our librarians fund programs they believe in that the trustees do not. This story's amazing. And now I really want some nachos. And our last story. Okay, I'll replace the basketball net. A few years ago, I lived in a neighborhood with an obnoxious HOA, Homeowners Association. If you don't know these enforced neighborhood rules intended to keep the area nice, most rules are okay and keep someone from planting a 100-foot flagpole with 20 flags attached and other outrageous stuff. Some of the HOAs have overzealous enforcers that send threatening letters about any little thing. Have your Christmas wreath on your door on January 3rd? Letter. I'd had problems with this association 2 or 3 times. The story begins when the basketball net on the goal in the driveway wore through. The kids ripped it the rest of the way off. I'd intended to get a new one, but it had been 2 weeks and I hadn't gotten around to it yet. Threatening letter. You are violating HOA rules that clearly state your goal must have a net. I was impressed there was such a rule, so I looked it up. That's what it said. However, that's all it said. It didn't say regulation net, standard net, nothing. Just needed a net. So I bought 5 nets. I used zip ties to attach the top of one net to the bottom of another. This created a long, chained-together net that reached the ground. Goal was lowered, kids. So I hung it up, and there it sat. I was in full compliance with the rules, so there was nothing they could do about it. One neighbor asked me about it, and I explained what happened. She didn't seem to think it was funny, so I think she must have been the person making the occasional complaints about us. Anyway, after a month or so, I cut off all but one net. Never had any HOA letters after that. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.